Okay, I wanted to make this video real quick because I'm feeling excited, proud, I'm feeling relieved, I'm feeling energized, I'm feeling a lot of good things. And I figured I would shoot this at 20 millimeters so you could see this mess behind me a little bit. I'm actually going to shoot 4x3 so I could cut out a lot of the mess. But I figured let me be a little bit more relatable, not cinematic, because 20 millimeters is not cinematic. I would shoot this at 50 millimeters if I was feeling cinematic, or 85, or even 35, 40-ish, but 20 is not cinematic, it's more YouTube-matic. Anyway, I wanted to share that. I have this. This is this is actually a booklet that I started using many years ago. Like, I would say the first time I used this was in 2007, when I finished the first draft of my first script of my first play called Broke Wide Open. And as you can see here, it even has a MySpace address on it. If you know what MySpace is, you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, I've been using this folder for all of my scripts since that time. And 2 nights ago, I completed a script for this movie that I'm working on called The Red Plaid Suitcase. It's a screenplay. It's based on a theatrical script that I finished actually in 2020. And it was supposed to open in 2020 at the Signature Theater in Manhattan. Play called The Red Plaid Suitcase. It got shut down by COVID. It's well documented. I've talked about that story so many times. But I hadn't looked at the script in a long time. I was devastated by the cancellation at that time. And I revisited it recently. And I decided to do something with that script and incorporate it into this screenplay for this film. And I finally finished 146 pages. It's a lot of pages. Check this out. It's a lot of pages. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So I'm very, very excited about that. And I just wanted to share. I've already shared this with my Patreon people, what it feels like to get to this point. Now, look, a lot of people finish screenplays, a lot of people make movies, a lot of people do a lot of things, but I'm just talking about my perspective because I've always had to do everything on my own. You know, I haven't had any like real high-level support from like studios or theater companies or anything like that. You know, I've had incredible support from audiences and from followers and supporters, you know, social media followers, stuff like that. I mean, I raised a ton of money for my first off-Broadway production, which was produced pretty much by the people who had seen me develop that play in the streets and in parks and abandoned storefronts and like all over the world. I did a little tour around the country. I went to the UK. It was an amazing, amazing journey to get that play done. And since then, all of my work has been pretty much the same way. Like, I don't wait for anybody. I don't wait for money. I don't wait for support. I don't wait for anybody who's going to tell me it's good enough or give me the acknowledgement so that, you know, they can, you know, be the air under my wings or whatever. Like, I've learned, never wait, you know, never think that anybody's going to come in and save you and do this for you. Just do it, and do it in any way that you can. You know, if you envision a big cast or something like that and you can't get that together, do it yourself. Like, figure it out. Use your ingenuity. Be an artist, you know. So I have big plans for this script. It's a very ambitious project. It's the most ambitious project I've ever worked on. From here, tangibly, I'll go to, you know, like storyboarding and shot listing and getting my gear together, getting my locations together, figuring out, you know, how much budget I need to get some of these locations, insurance, because I do have other actors involved. You know, there's a lot. I'm going to shoot the whole thing by myself, although I might reach out to some people who have no idea that I might do that, but I might for a couple of things that I want to do. But I'll tell you, writing a script is an amazing journey for me. You know, I don't write shorts. You know, I just don't think that way. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but my brain doesn't work that way. Like, I really like exposition, developing a story, developing characters, seeing the characters change, seeing the story evolve. Like, I really enjoy a long story. And in fact, every play that I've done has been over 2 hours long. And we're talking about solo plays. So you're talking about one guy standing on stage in front of a full house in a theater, just looking at me. And I have to keep their attention. I have to keep the story moving. I have to keep it engaging. I have to keep it compelling. My first director once told me that your only job is to make sure that nobody in that theater is bored. If anybody is bored in that theater, you failed. No matter how good anybody tells you the script is, the story, whatever, as the writer and the performer, your job is to keep people engaged, to make it entertaining, even though it's about meaningful, socially conscious, whatever the case may be of what you're writing about. It has to be entertaining. It has to give people a feeling that it was worth coming out and paying money and buying tickets to see this show or to watch this movie, to spend 2 or 3 hours of their time, watching what you made. So I always bear that in mind, and that's why I never think that I know everything. I always have readers of my script. I've worked with a dramaturge for many years, but if I can't get with my dramaturge, I send it out to people that I trust and I get feedback. And then what I'm going to do with this script, in fact, but what I do all the time is I'll do readings, and I'll go to theaters and I'll invite people out, and I'll do just like a staged reading of the story and get feedback and take notes, and I'll use that feedback. And sometimes I'll go out in the street, just perform it in the streets and get feedback from people and just do anything that I can. Sometimes I might show up at like poetry open mics, and even though it's not poetry, I'll just, like choose a section of a play or a film and I'll perform it, and I get immediate feedback right away. And I also, kind of accumulate more followers that way and get more audience members to buy tickets or to watch the movie, if it's in a theater or if it's at a festival or if it's streaming or whatever. I make work to share it. That's the only reason I make it. I don't make it for myself. I make work to share it with you. Now, I only write work that means something to me. And, okay, that sounds kind of weird. Let me explain that. What I mean by that, and Rick Rubin actually said this, who's that legendary music producer, an artist should only write about what they are compelled to write, what's important to them, what's moving them. Like, I always feel like, don't tell a story unless you feel like you're going to die if you don't tell it. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to figure out what does the audience want, what's happening, what's trending, what's popular. Like, you can't think about that because you have no idea. Because, I always say some people like Jimi Hendrix and some people like New Kids on the Block. Some people like Taylor Swift and some people like Bobby McFerrin or John Coltrane. There's no accounting for people's taste. But what you have to do is choose something that means something to you and tell it in the best possible way that you can, in the most beautiful possible way that you can, even if it's about something disturbing or ugly or difficult or something controversial. You have to turn it into something beautiful, like an amazing bed of wildflowers, like something that's so magnificent that it makes people go, oh my God, I'm in love with this, but damn, that's kind of like something I'm usually uncomfortable talking about. And then when you do something like that, especially when you bring people into a performance space together, whether it be theater or film, you get people in there from all different walks of life who believe in all kinds of different things, who feel different ways about things, who look different, who pray differently, who love differently. And you have them experience the same story together. And then they talk about it. Then they discuss it. They consider things that they might not have considered without seeing your art. And so that's the beautiful thing for me. And that's why I say I only write about things that are important to me, that I think are compelling, that I must share with you. And I think if you're genuine about that, if you're telling the truth, if you're, sharing something that is completely organic coming out of your body, it's going to resonate with people. I think sometimes, like a lot of times people think, what's so special about what I think? Like, why would anybody care about what I think or what I, perceive or the way I look at things? Like, who cares about me? But you'd be surprised. You know, I spent 6 years touring and sharing a play about my search for my biological mother, you know, and my relationship with my adoptive family and my foster care experience and all this stuff that's all about me. But, and I talk about this often too, you know, my director during the time said to me, you know, even though this story is all about you, it's not a good story until it's all about all of us. And, you know, I realized during that run, it was 6 years long. I worked on that play for 6 years of my life. I did nothing else. That was my whole life for 6 years. I realized that it was true, that it just, you know, people would come up and talk to me during the Q&As or even after the show, you know, like people would DM me, they would send me messages, and they would talk about things that came up with their lives, you know, that made them think of experiences that they've had, that circumstances that they've lived under, and how the play kind of inspired that inside of them and had them thinking and, like I said, you know, kind of, I don't know, you know, contemplating things that they don't generally think about. That they, you know, sometimes we just go about our day-to-day lives and we don't really think about or consider what you know, who we are in the rest of the world, how we kind of fit in with everybody else, because nobody's living here alone. Nobody's here by themselves. You know, we all live in this community, you know, from your local block to your city to your state to your country, to, like, we are a global community, but we're also a local community. But nobody is alone. Nobody's here by themselves. And so that's the way I approach my stories. I'm like, yo, we're all here together. So I'm going to share my story with you, and hopefully it's got something to do with you. I remember I was in London performing a play, and this kid came running up to me after the play, and he's like, oh my God, your story is my story. Your family is my family. Your grandmother is my grandmother. And I'm looking at this young black man, and I'm like, where are you from? He goes, Nigeria. And I'm saying, like, your Nigerian grandmother is just like my Jewish lady from the Bronx grandmother? And he goes, exactly the same. Your grandmother is my grandmother. Your family is my family. And I called my director that night from London and I said, Stephen, now it's a good play. Because I realized it was no longer just about me, you know. And that's the other thing, how I feel about, you know, finishing this script. I'm getting closer to, you know, something that's been so precious to me that I've been working on for, you know, this particular script over a year. But really, I've been working on this since 2018 when I first started working on that play. And by the way, this script, this screenplay has become a very different story than the original play. But the original play is kind of like the gasoline or the engine that's running this story. But, oh my God, I kind of lost my train of thought for a second. But, what I'm really excited about is that this story that's been so precious to me, you know, so close to me, so, you know, important to me for such a long time, you know, as you get closer to the end, as you get closer to finishing, as you get closer to sharing it, like in this case, making a movie, but I'm also going to do a play. I'm going to do the play in 2027 probably. I have a little twitch in my eye. I'm getting closer to the story no longer being mine, because once I put it out there, it's yours. It's everybody's. It's for the universe to, you know, kind of take in and make their own, you know, it's my offering, you know, it's my contribution. And that's why when I'm working on something, it means everything to me. It's the only thing in my life. I'm completely obsessed with it. I'm consumed with it. But then once I start performing, once I start putting it out there, I'm not so precious with it anymore, because I realize that it's not mine. It's not just me. You know, it's yours now. It's everybody who's kind enough to receive it, who's nice enough to give some of their time and some of their brain space and spiritual space to receive my story, something that I created. I find that to be a great gift, something that is so humbling for me, and something that I never take for granted. I take so seriously, and also it helps me to move on to the next story, because I don't like to get stuck, you know, on one story, and I never think, oh, this is my greatest work, this is the work of my life, this is it. Like, no, this is this story that I worked on, you know, and the next story is going to be the next story that I work on. And the ones that I've done in the past, they were those stories that I was working on during that time, but every single time it was the most important thing that I had ever done in my life. Like, that's exactly how I feel about every single project that I work on. So anyway, I am so unbelievably excited about this. Like, this means everything to me. Everything right now. And I'm getting closer to, taking it and making it into something that you could see on a big screen. I'm going to be targeting a big screen. I'm going to try to make a DCP. I want to get into bigger festivals. I want to try to license this at somewhere like my target is HBO Max, because to me, HBO is the top. Like, nobody tells better stories than HBO, like an original HBO series. So this obviously is not going to be an original HBO series, but I'd like to get it licensed there, or Netflix or Amazon or Stars or wherever. I don't care. I'm going to get in. I want to try to get into Tribeca or Sundance or Cannes or Toronto or South by Southwest. These are my intentions with every project that I make. And so I'm really excited at the journey of trying to get there, the process, because really, at the end of the day, the most important part of this is the journey, is the day-to-day. You know what I mean? It's not about the destination. It's not about whether or not you got there. It's not about success or failure with regards to, what you achieved in the end. It's really about doing the work every day, waking up and writing and editing and filming and rehearsing and getting gear and picking the right stuff and all that kind of shit. Like, it's the day-to-day. That's everything, because, no day is promised. So that's why every day I think to myself, did you get everything out of this day? Did you put everything that you possibly could into this moment right now? Because tomorrow might not be there for you, and the past is gone. Anything you've done in the past, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you've won a Grammy or a Tony or an Academy Award or whatever. I don't care if you received a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation for $500,000 or a Jerome Fellowship or whatever. It doesn't matter. What's past is past. What are you doing with your life? What are you doing today? What are you writing? What are you shooting? What are you rehearsing? What are you, working your movement on? Are you working out? Are you staying healthy? What's your nutrition like? Where are you headed? What are your relationships like? What's your life like? Are you stabilizing your life so you can get the most out of your talent? Are you staying healthy? Are you having enough balance in your life so that you're not just like so insulated that it's just all about you and it's not going to be, a story filled with empathy? A story filled with compassion, a story filled with, that seems like it was written by somebody who is actually listening and watching and paying attention to other people and not just thinking about themselves. That's what a great story is about. So I'm so excited about where I am today. I printed it. It's a huge milestone for me. This is the 4th draft. And I just feel good enough now where I said, you know what, I'm going to make a hard copy. It's my first hard copy. Doesn't mean it's finished. It doesn't mean there are not going to be more edits. It just means that, I like to work from paper. I don't like to read on a screen. And when I'm rehearsing, when I'm editing, when I'm working, I like to work with paper. And when I get very, very close to the end where I feel like I'm right there, I like to make a hard copy. And for me, that's like a gigantic destination. It's a moment filled with pride. And, I just feel like a gigantic sense of accomplishment. And, I used to have a friend / kind of mentor, a guy named Jack Rollins, who was an older man. He was a legendary guy in the entertainment industry. He managed a lot of famous people. And he once was holding my script to Brooklyn Quartet, my second play, in his hands, and he read it. And he said to me, he goes, first of all, it's a beautiful story. He loved it. He loved the script. And he couldn't believe that I was trying to do it by myself because it was 4 characters. And I was performing 4 characters at the same time with these blazing fast conversations. But we got past all that because that wasn't really the important part, because he said to me, Rock, no matter what happens from here, you did it. You wrote this. This is your script. That script was 179 pages when he read it. And he was like, nobody can ever take this from you. Like, this is your story. You're the guy with the play. You're the guy who wrote this. You're the guy who created it. You're the one who thought of it. And you're the guy who not only thought of it, but you're the guy who did it. And whatever happens from here happens, you know, and put the same energy into that moving forward. But really appreciate this. You know, I just read this. You let me read your script. That's an honor. Appreciate what you did. Appreciate what you have in your hands. Don't take any of it for granted. And yeah, he was 99 years old at the time. And I think about that often. And so today is the 13th of November. And I finished on the 11th. So 11/11. My number is 22. I'm not going to get into that whole thing, but that's a number that's meant something to me my whole life. And yeah, I'm going to take it as a good sign, and I'm just going to be very proud for today. So that's all I really want to say at 20 millimeters. I hope this looks relatively okay. Please subscribe, and please hit the like button, and please consider joining my Patreon. That would be awesome. I have an amazing, you know, kind of family of people there that really just give me so much love. And please consider checking out my GoFundMe for this film. I need to raise $30,000. I've gotten off to a pretty good start. And I need to pay my collaborators. I need to pay for space. I need to, you know, get some gear. I pretty much have everything that I need. I am thinking of getting a Panasonic S1H to shoot this film, but I have an S5, so if I need to just use the S5, and, you know, if I need to. I mean, I am so in gratitude that I have a Panasonic S5. It's like the most incredible camera. So anyway, please consider the GoFundMe, anything that you might want to contribute and be a part of this journey. That would honor me, and I would honor your support. And there's a link in the description of this video. And all of that, thank you so much for listening to all of this and for, you know, kind of putting up with me with this moment where I feel kind of enthusiastic and humbled and pretty emotional right now. It takes, every time I write a story, it takes a lot out of me. I'm going to finish with this. My first play took 6 years of my life. My second play was 5 years of my life. That's 11 years. My third project I worked on for 2.5 years, and then it got canceled. Then I went on to all these other projects for 5 years, and now I'm back to this that I've been working on for the last year, and it's just the beginning. And who knows how long it's going to take. It could take anywhere from 2 years to 5 years, and then once I finish, I'm going to do the play. And that play is probably going to take 4 or 5 years of my life, God willing. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I hope, to be able to perform it anywhere and everywhere that I can. And so you see, every project that you do, I just talked about almost 15 or 20 years. It takes a lot out of your life. And as I get older, it becomes more meaningful to me and more sobering at the same time, because I start to think about the other end, you know, and I don't like to do that, you know, the other end meaning the end of the project, not the other end of my life. But I do, you know, I do feel my mortality more as I get older. And I think, all right, you know, like be careful about what you endeavor upon now, because it's going to be 5 or 6 years. When you finish, you know, you're going to be different. You know, we grow, we change, we get older. And so anyway, I'm very proud of this moment. I just want to be present. And I'm grateful to be here with you. And this is a YouTube video, so I'm here with you at YouTube. And I really appreciate all the support that I've gotten here as well. Even though I'm not a big channel, the channel that I have, I feel, is very powerful. And I get a lot of energy from it, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much. And yeah, onward we go. That's it.